How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Baking World Tour, where we try and make a bread from every country in the world. And in today's episode, we got Pastel from Cabo Verde. It's a little deep fried dough pocket, commonly filled with spiced tuna. And you could either fry it or bake it. It's quite similar to an empanada. Different fillings can also be used. But in Cabo Verde, tuna is the classic one. And that's exactly what we're going to make today. And it's super simple as ever. The dough is super basic, and the filling takes no time to make at all. So let's get to it and see what we need. Now for the dough, we'll need some flour, salt, baking powder, an egg, water and a bit of oil. As I said, it's super basic. Now onto the filling. You want to use some good quality tin tuna. This is Spanish tin tuna, it's packed in olive oil. And yes, tin tuna is exactly what you need to use. Just don't get the cheap stuff from the bottom of the shelf. We'll also need some onions, peppers, oil, garlic, and for seasonings I've got some salt, pepper, onion powder, paprika and garlic powder. Lastly, a bit of chopped coriander, just to freshen things up. And we'll need some oil for frying. I'm using regular vegetable oil. Now onto the equipment. We'll need a pot for frying the pastel and making the filling in. We'll need a bowl, scales, dough scraper and rolling pin for making the dough. I'm going to start by making the filling. In a pot on high heat, add the oil, the onion, the garlic and the peppers. I'll give them a quick mix and let them cook for around 7 minutes on high heat. You want some good color on there. To save some time, you could start by making the dough, and while the dough is resting you could make the filling. But I had some time to spare, so I made the filling first. Now once everything's caramelized, add the drained tuna. I ended up using 3 tins of it. Be sure to drain it properly, you don't want to make things too oily here. Now at this point just break up the large chunks. And now you can add the seasonings. After you've added the spices, give it a quick mix and keep cooking for around 3 minutes, but this time on low heat. Finally, add the chopped coriander, and you don't need to cook this, just stir it through and it'll be done. That's how you make the filling. Super easy, super simple, super quick. Took us no more than 10 minutes. Now transfer it to a bowl and leave it on the side to cool down completely. I left mine in the fridge overnight. That's one part of the recipe done. Now we can continue on by making the dough. Get a bowl, add the water, baking powder, salt, the oil and the egg, and then give it all a good mix. You want to dissolve the salt properly before you add the flour. By the way, if you're feeling really lazy, you could use store-bought empanada discs for this. Then you would only have to make the filling. But trust me, homemade dough is always best. Now add the flour, grab your scraper and mix this to a dough. Mix it in the bowl until there's no more dry flour left. And if the scraper's not doing the job, continue on by hand. Now tip the dough out on your table and we can start kneading it. It's not sticky at all. So I'm going to use my regular kneading method here. What I like to do is press down and forwards with the heel of my right hand, and using the fingers of my left hand I fold the piece of dough under the heel of my right hand. Then I turn it and repeat. Keep kneading it for around 5 minutes. And once your dough is nice and smooth and nice and strong, it's ready. And the next step is to divide the dough. This recipe makes 8 decently sized pastel. So weigh your dough and divide it into 8 equal parts. If you like them smaller, then divide it into more parts. You can do 10 or 12. I wouldn't suggest making them bigger though. But regardless of what you do, after dividing, you need to shape them up. Take a piece of dough, make sure that all the little scraps are on top. Then flatten it out, fold the edge over the middle, going around in a circle until you reach point where it started. Then flip it smooth side up, tighten it against the table. Pick it up, pinch the seam together at the bottom, and that's your dough ball done. Now shape up all the other ones, place them on a plate or on a tray, cover them up, and we can leave them to rest. 30 minutes at room temperature should be enough, but you can stick them in the fridge for up to 24 hours, which is what I did. I made the filling and the dough balls a day ahead of time and finished them on the next day, but you could easily make it all on the same day. It would take you no more than 2 hours from start to finish, but regardless of what you decide to do. After resting, we can shape them up. Grab a dough ball, dust it generously with flour, then press it out by hand and continue rolling it with a rolling pin. To make it nice and round, turn it after every time you roll it. This way, the disc of dough will open out gradually and evenly. And take your time, there's no rush. You want to roll it out quite large. As you can see, it's bigger than the palm of my hand. And no matter the size of your hands, the dough should be nice and thin. I already divided the filling into 8, so I know exactly how much to add in each. Bear in mind that the filling is quite loose, so you want to press it down. Try to make it nice and compact. If not, you'll end up with air pockets inside your pastel. Okay, now let's seal these up. Fold the dough over so it makes a half moon shape. Press it together in the middle and then work your way out to one side. Try and make everything nice and even. And before you seal up the other side, press the pastel. You want to get as much air out of it as possible. And now just go around the edge with your fingertips and really press it together so it doesn't come undone. Now from here, you could crimp it together with a fork, but I'll show you how to make a proper edge. So watch my hands closely. I'm going to be holding the dough down with the index finger of my right hand, and I'm going to use the index finger and thumb of the other hand to fold the dough over. Every time I fold it over, I move forward with the index finger of my right hand and press it down again. It's important to press the dough in properly and fold it over the finger, and that way you'll get a nice braided looking edge. It's quite simple really, and it's quick too, and once you have done one, you'll get it, and if you don't, well, there's 7 more to practice on. But as you can see me demonstrate, super easy, and the result looks fantastic. You can start preheating your oil whilst you're shaping your pastel. And here they all are, so let's head over to the stove and fry them up. You don't want your oil to be more than 170 degrees Celsius, which is 340 Fahrenheit. Place them in gently, don't splash around too much. They'll take around 4 minutes. And you want to flip them every minute. And I would highly suggest getting any kids or pets or any distractions out of the kitchen when you're doing this. Trust me, you don't want to be distracted when you have a large pot of boiling oil on your hob. It'll be a very bad day when you get this on your skin or anyone else's skin. And don't leave the pot either. You won't be standing there and watching your pastel. They don't take long to cook anyway. And speaking of cooking, like I said earlier, you could also bake these in the oven. I'd say you can do the same temperature, but baking them, they'll take around 15 to 20 minutes. The texture of course will be different. For me, I think deep fried is the way to go. And they're not too greasy either. This dough doesn't absorb that much oil, especially if you drain them off properly after frying. I used some kitchen paper, but you can use a rack as well. But that's how I make pastel. Super delicious crispy fried dough pockets. That tuna filling is really nice, and I had it with some sweet chili sauce. It was a perfect match. Have you ever tried these before? Have you tried that empanada? Let me know that in comments. And if you have any questions or suggestions, also let me know. And if you love bread in all its shapes and forms, click that subscribe button. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.